Welcome to the CompTIA A+ Prepcast presented by baremetalcyber.com. Documentation serves as a critical backbone in IT support and operations by providing structure, enforcing policy, and enabling the consistent transfer of knowledge. Whether handling a help desk request or preparing for a network upgrade, technicians rely on documentation to execute their tasks accurately and consistently. The A+ certification includes coverage of common documentation types, their functions, and how they are applied in real-world scenarios. These materials are not just records, they're working tools that guide technicians and users alike through standardized processes. Acceptable Use Policies, or AUPs, are foundational documents that define what users are permitted and prohibited from doing on organizational systems. These policies often include guidance on internet use, installation of software, data privacy, and prohibited behaviors. Users are typically required to sign the AUP before being granted access to network resources. These signed acknowledgments support disciplinary procedures and serve as legal protection for the organization in cases of misuse or abuse. Understanding the purpose of AUPs is essential for ensuring both security and compliance. Standard Operating Procedures, or SOPs, are detailed documents that provide step-by-step instructions for recurring technical tasks. Their main goal is to reduce errors and ensure consistency across different technicians and shifts. Common examples of SOPs include procedures for setting up new user accounts, performing password resets, or executing backup routines. By standardizing these actions, SOPs reduce variability in support quality and allow less experienced technicians to perform tasks with confidence. They are also crucial during escalations and onboarding of new team members. Network diagrams are visual representations of a network structure and layout. These diagrams typically include physical and logical components such as routers, switches, firewalls, servers, and IP ranges. Network diagrams are essential for both long-term planning and immediate troubleshooting. When a network issue arises, being able to quickly consult a diagram helps technicians trace problems, verify configurations, and isolate affected segments. These documents also serve as educational tools for training new employees and maintaining continuity during staff transitions. Wiring and port maps provide physical documentation of how network cables and ports are laid out within a building or rack. These maps show which wall jack connects to which switch port and often include labeling systems for quick identification. On-site technicians use this information to avoid accidental disconnections, trace cabling during repairs, or expand infrastructure cleanly. Wiring maps are especially helpful in environments where cable runs are hidden behind walls or equipment, making visual inspection difficult without reference materials. Asset management records are another essential documentation type that supports operational awareness and resource planning. These records contain information about hardware and software inventory, such as serial numbers, purchase dates, locations, and assigned users. By keeping these records up to date, organizations can track the life cycle of each asset, plan for replacements, and maintain compliance with procurement and warranty processes. Asset records also link directly to support systems, making it easier to manage repairs, upgrades, and license renewals. Incident response documentation outlines the procedures technicians should follow when handling cybersecurity incidents or major system outages. These documents typically include immediate response steps, contact information for internal and external parties, escalation paths, and decision-making checklists. Having clear incident response documentation is essential for compliance with regulatory requirements and helps ensure consistency during high-stress events. These documents are also reviewed during post-mortem analysis to identify what went well and what improvements are needed. For example, if a user reports a ransomware infection, the technician would follow a pre-established SOP to isolate the affected device and notify the appropriate security team. Incident response documents would then guide recovery steps, such as identifying the variant, restoring from backup, and notifying stakeholders. This process would be logged for future reference and audit purposes. This scenario shows how documentation acts as both a guide and a record throughout the resolution process. Software documentation and version logs track application updates, known issues, and patch histories. These documents allow IT teams to identify when changes were made, what bugs were resolved, and whether a rollback may be needed. Version logs often include change logs and deployment notes, which become especially important during troubleshooting or in highly regulated environments. These records help ensure system stability by offering a historical perspective on application behavior and maintenance. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. IT documentation is often divided into internal and external categories based on the intended audience. Internal documentation is written specifically for IT staff and includes detailed technical procedures, architectural diagrams, and troubleshooting workflows. These documents may contain sensitive system configurations or administrative credentials and are not shared outside the IT team. External documentation, by contrast, is created for end users and includes training guides, FAQs, and how-to documents. Both types are important, but they differ in tone, complexity, and access controls. The A+ exam recognizes the importance of tailoring documentation to the user's technical level. Business continuity and disaster recovery documentation prepare organizations to restore service during unplanned outages or emergencies. Business continuity plans focus on keeping operations running, while disaster recovery plans outline how to restore systems and data. These documents include critical metrics like Recovery Time Objective, or RTO, and Recovery Point Objective, or RPO. These define how quickly systems should be restored and how much data loss is acceptable. These plans must be regularly tested through drills and simulations to validate their effectiveness. Understanding these principles is part of the operational procedures section of the certification. Onboarding and offboarding documentation ensures that user accounts are created and disabled in a consistent and secure manner. These documents include checklists for provisioning hardware, granting access to required systems, and configuring permissions. Offboarding includes steps to revoke access, return devices, and archive or transfer data. These processes must be synchronized with human resources and asset management systems to maintain compliance and security. Failing to document these processes can result in orphaned accounts or data loss, both of which carry serious operational and legal risks. Change logs and approval records are used to track all modifications made to IT systems. These documents include the name of the technician who performed the change, the date and time, the reason for the change, and any associated approval. They may also include testing procedures and rollback plans in case the change causes issues. These records are essential for audits, troubleshooting unexpected behavior, and identifying patterns in system performance. The exam may include questions that ask which documentation type best supports post-change evaluation. Centralized documentation storage is a best practice that improves accessibility and consistency across an organization. By storing all critical documents in a shared and searchable location, such as an internal wiki, SharePoint site, or ticketing system knowledge base, IT teams ensure that everyone works from the same information. This prevents the use of outdated instructions and improves collaboration between shifts and departments. When documentation is stored in scattered or siloed locations, the risk of errors and inefficiencies increases significantly. Maintaining documentation requires ongoing effort, and several best practices should be followed. All documents should be reviewed regularly, especially after system upgrades, organizational changes, or the discovery of errors. Each document should have an assigned owner responsible for updates. Version control mechanisms help track changes over time, allowing teams to identify who made edits and when. Without maintenance, documentation becomes stale and misleading, which can harm support quality and user trust. Confidentiality and access control are crucial for sensitive documentation. Documents that contain security configurations, administrator credentials, or user data must be protected using encryption or stored behind role-based access controls. Only authorized personnel should be able to view or modify these materials. Restricting access prevents misuse, protects organizational integrity, and ensures compliance with data protection regulations. The exam may include questions about safeguarding documentation within regulatory frameworks. Linking documentation to service tickets is a helpful strategy that reinforces documentation usage and improves support accuracy. When a technician opens a ticket, linking to the relevant SOP allows them to apply procedures directly without searching through separate systems. This also improves the quality of ticket notes and instills confidence in the user, knowing the technician is following a verified process. Encouraging this practice helps documentation become an integral part of everyday support rather than an afterthought. Documentation is also essential for technician training and professional development. Well-crafted documentation shortens the ramp-up period for new hires, enabling them to learn procedures and tools without constant supervision. It also reinforces exam concepts by applying them in real-life tasks. Standardized documentation ensures that technicians follow the same approach to similar problems, regardless of who is on duty. Over time, this leads to higher service consistency and reduced user frustration. To summarize, IT documentation comes in many forms, including acceptable use policies, standard operating procedures, network diagrams, change logs, and inventory records. Each type serves a distinct function in supporting secure, efficient, and consistent operations. Documentation supports audits, improves training, guides troubleshooting, and provides a reliable framework for decision-making. The A+ exam places strong emphasis on documentation because it reflects real-world expectations and is a cornerstone of operational excellence in the field. Thank you for listening. Please visit baremetalcyber.com for more cybersecurity information, podcasts, books, and more.